Hello, welcome back to Asian Flicks. These days everyone worries about money day in and day out. One of them was Sang Yu, an insomniac scriptwriter who constantly had nightmares that slowly consumed his life. A Grim Reaper chases him if he sleeps, but at the same time, he can steal antiques from him and sell it for huge money. He can earn money by having nightmares. Let's watch. Will money still find him happiness? Enjoy the movie. The movie begins with Sang Yu, who looks weary standing around the train envying others' life. He was a brilliant writer, but because of constant nightmares, he cannot focus on anything. When he sleeps he always chases by a Grim Reaper, and when he is nearly killed, he wakes up feeling terrified and tired. This time the Grim Reaper appeared to chase him. He was dragged under the train, and when he was about to die, he woke up in a run-down apartment with the landlord constantly banging on his door. Sang Yu was behind his rent for quite a while, so he has got used to this. He was relaxing while drinking tea, but he later spit it out and the landlord furiously screamed at him. He then escaped from the window and get away. Sang Yu has been anywhere to find a cure for his illness, from science to tarot and even the supernatural. He was tired of his situation. While walking around he bought a pancake but without an egg, as he don't have enough to afford it. While waiting for his food, he looks at the cafe owner, and that is his only joy in life. His food was ready, and when he wanted to have a bite, a man called him and was his book editor. He tried to escape, but because he haven't slept or eaten in days he got caught in the end. The man was Sanji, his book editor, and want to know how the book Sang Yu promised to turn out. Sanji was mad at him for not fulfilling his promise, even though Sanji has paid in advance for the book. While eating he scolds Sang Yu for wasting his talent and will give him 10 more days to finish the book. Feeling desperate, Sang Yu go back to his room, but turns out he has been kicked out. Well, it's not a surprise as he hasn't paid in months. Having no choice, he then goes to the cafe and works on his book, but as we expect, after typing a few words, he falls asleep. Instantly, the cafe interior change, and the Grim Reaper with a chain chokes Sang Yu, slamming his head over and over. When he nearly blacked out, he woke up and find even his notebook was gone. Having lost all hope, he calmly walks away and goes to the rooftop while leaving a last message to Sanji. He begs for forgiveness and will pay his debt in the next life. His life doesn't mean anything anymore, and when he wants to jump, the pancake vendor screams, giving him freebies with egg and sausage. Bruh. Sang Yu was getting comforted by the pancake vendor, and when he told him about his illness, the vendor teach him if the Grim Reaper nearly kill him, keep yelling this is just a dream and he will wake up. Sang Yu thought he was joking and just laugh at it. Sang Yu then sell his phone to get money for food. He plans to steal some food, but he is still a decent human and puts the food back. While eating outside, the cafe owner he loves comes and starts talking to him. But the girl turns changed into the Grim Reaper and stabs him with a huge sword. This time Sang Yu remember the old man's phrase, and when he started screaming I was just dreaming, the Grim Reaper goes away, but he manages to grab the sword. He then tried to sell the sword in an old antique market, but looks like a lot of people have an interest in the sword. He then brings the sword into a luxury antique store and sells it for a good price. Using this money he bought good food, a laptop, and even booked a hotel. He has a good look, folks. After freshening up, he gets ready to sleep, and when he wants to sleep the room light flicker. He went outside of the room but find everything was so quiet. He found an ancient jug and tried to steal it using the same trick, but it doesn't work this time. Seems like the phrase only works when he was in grave injury. While walking around, suddenly the Grim Reaper comes and brings with him a huge axe. The Grim Reaper chased and attacked him with it. Sang Yu was stabbed with the axe, and this time he repeat the magic phrase and it works. He woke up in his hotel room while hugging the huge axe. This time the event brought a smile to his face. He then sell it and become more confident. He goes on a shopping spree and even starts flirting with girls in the club. He manages to bring home with him 2 girls to get laid, but what a surprise, he just gives them money and chases them away. He prepared to go to bed and he was transported to a museum full of valuables. While admiring all the antiques, the Grim Reaper appears, but this time he was carrying a machine gun with him. Sang Yu run around to hide from it, but eventually, the shot came through and he was killed. Sang Yu wakes up and eats some sleeping pills to go back to his dream. He then runs around and grabs 2 goods before saying the magic phrase and then wakes up full of excitement. Sang Yu became a frequent seller for the antique store and was treated as a VIP by the boss so he can continue working with them. When he gets out, he met Sanji again. He immediately runs away, but after seeing his reflection he becomes confident and began to confront Sanji. He treats him to a luxury dinner and then settles his debt. At night, he got drunk, so Sanji escorted him to the hotel and after put him into bed. He pretends to leave, then comes back to look around for Sang-Yu's possession, but suddenly Sang-Yu wakes up with lots of gold necklaces in his hand. He found out about Sang-Yu's secret and begs him to be his assistant. The next day, he visits the coffee shop again and decide to buy the cafe as the owner, Hua-er plans to close it down. Sang-Yu decide to buy her cafe to get close to her, and later that night they get to know each other more over dinner. After the dinner, Sang-Yu prepare himself to sleep, and this time he was sent to a vault full of money. He began to laugh like crazy and bagged as much money as he can. Even with the Grim Reaper appearing, Sang-Yu was calm and even play around with him. He later defeats him with ease and moves objects around with his mind. Using the cash, he paid a lot of people to come and try Hua-er's cafe to make her happy. Sang-Yu even bring a bag of money to the pancake vendor who has been kind to him through hard times. His relationship with Hua-er was getting better after they went on couple's date. Sang-Yu told her, he was a scriptwriter and looking forward to watching the movie he write. Hearing that, he gains a surge of motivation and finishes up his script instantly. The script was later made into a movie with Sang-Yu's funding. They even create a fake award ceremony to tell how great of a writer Sang-Yu was. What a great effort just to impress a girl. Sang-Yu start to dream again, and this time he come into a cave full of gold, and there he met the Grim Reaper sitting. He wasn't afraid of him anymore and even dared to take a gold belt from his body. The Grim Reaper just touched Sang-Yu's chest, but it didn't do anything to him, so he just ignored it and take the belt away. He then went to Hua-er's house to have a chat, but suddenly a blade struck him and left a huge scar on his chest. Seeing the scar, Sang-Yu quickly go home thinking he had been tired, but he began to consider was it because of the Grim Reaper touch. Sang-Yu prepared to sleep and was transported to a skyscraper. He came to see a man looking over the balcony, and it was him. Full of scar and later scattered to dust. Seeing that, Sang-Yu woke up in horror and look over the mirror to find out a huge scar appears in his face. He strolled around his antique collection and realized all the scars he get every time he stole the antique. He quickly go to the pancake vendor to look for a solution, as he was the one teaching him the magic phrase. However, he was kidnapped by his first antique store owner, as he was curious about how Sang-Yu gained all this wealth so fast. They ask for a lot of money from him, but he agrees to it instantly, which makes them even more curious about how rich he was. They even kidnapped Sang-Ji and went to his house to look for Sang-Yu's collection. They went to his underground collection and were amazed by how huge his collection was. Suddenly, Hua-er come to the lobby, but Sang-Yu scream and insult her so she would leave. However, the thief got another plan as he opened up the door to lead Hua-er upstairs. This plan works as Sang-Yu's plan to give all his belonging to them, but there was conflict between the thief and they fight between themselves. Sang-Yu, Hua-er, and Sang-Ji get away by smashing the thieves using any antique nearby. Some of the thieves manage to catch up to them, but Sang-Ji sacrifices himself so the lovebird can get away. Sang-Ji's life flashed before his eyes and he later died from getting smashed to the ground by one of the thieves. Sang-Yu and Hua-er manage to go upstairs, but a huge thug catches up with them and throws him around the house. Sang-Yu start to black out and gets dragged into his dream, where he sees all of his stealing adventures and he even sees his death from being beaten by the thief. This time he transforms into the Grim Reaper and knocks his way out to save Hua-er. The Grim Reaper kills all of the thieves and at last point his gun at Sang-Yu. For the last time, Sang-Yu said the magic phrase again and he was just dreaming. He transports back to the convenience store and there Hua-er comforts him and even gets him something to eat. He went back to his pathetic life with no money, but all the people he care for doesn't get hurt. One more thing, turns out Hua-er was also watching Sang-Yu all this time and was willing to help him. She let him work at her cafe and buy him a new laptop to pursue his writing. Having all this support, Sang-Yu gained his motivation for writing and managed to sell his script for good money. He later wants to buy pancakes from the vendor again, but the vendor returns the bag of money he gave him before, saying he knows what Sang-Yu gave up to gain that money and showing him the scar he got from it.